Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening. And as the title says, more hair. More hair, more hair, more hair. Lots of more hair for this lion, but we're getting closer now to it being finished. I still haven't decided whether to darken that background or not, but we shall get on with the hair. That decision can be made later. I'm tending more towards the not doing it, but then I've got to do a bit more work around the face and the chin if I don't do it, but we shall see. So, heat up the Pyrographic tool, which is almost a tongue twister but not quite. And I still haven't adjusted this pen, but I'll get around to that one of these days when I get around to it. I'll maybe see if I can swap some square ones for round ones, but we shall see. Right. Why am I getting a shadow? Where's the shadow coming from? Just general lighting shadow. Excuse me if I keep taking a drink tonight, but I'm just getting over a cold and I need to keep drinking. Yeah, I've never noticed that much shadow before. From the room lighting. That's what I thought this light was overpowering it, but it's not for some reason, which is interesting. Okay, right, lots and lots of hair. So this area down here needs to be darker, which will help with the look of the whole piece and fading out to the lighter underneath around here. And there's a bit of hair work to do around this black area in the centre, just to sort of extend the hair a little bit around there. When you're doing pyrography, one of the things you very rarely... That shadow is bothering me. One of the things you very rarely do, or should avoid doing, is trying to come off the piece onto it. So like down here, not doing hair that way from off the board onto it, because basically you can't get your pen perfectly aligned. And you'll get little dark spots on the end where your pen stopped and you've had to move it to line it up. The power light on this machine keeps flashing, don't know why. Perhaps we're going to have to take the case apart one of these days, but it's got one of these secure torque screw things, multi-point star headed screws to make it difficult. And just see what's making it flash, because it's distracting and there's no reason why it should flash. So we're just applying lots of slightly darker hair here, so basically just slowing down the the movement of the pen so that we get a slightly darker hair than the hairs that are underneath, which gradually will make this area look a little bit darker, a little bit more in shadow. Now, whilst I could turn the heat up on the pen, again, I'm not going to do that because it just makes it a little bit harder to control. Excuse me a second, I'm going to adjust this light. The lighting is bugging me. It's not something I've noticed before, and for some reason it's bothering me now. So let me just bring the light down a little bit, see if I can make sure I keep it out of the view of the camera. That's this camera, because otherwise you get a light bloom, a glare from the light. See how that does. Well, at least that's better from my perspective. And you're not quite seeing as much shadow as you were before, which is good. I'm sure that's changed, and I don't know what's changed about it. Get rid of that board for a minute. Okay, the idea is to darken most of this around here as it's in shadow basically, and gradually lighten up as we come around the front of the main. Give this pen a clean. This is just normal sort of kitchen paper, and well, as you can see, it does mark the paper. Just like wood, paper can be pyrographed on. It's not setting light to the paper, it's not hot enough. The best I'll do is just char my way through the paper completely. So just playing a bit there, but the best I'll do with it is just really just to keep going right through the paper. Sometimes you get a build up on some pens. This one not generally much unless you're doing a lot of it like this, but some of the shaders can build up a film on the bottom of them like a glaze, and it stops the heat transfer, and they don't work as well. So just cleaning them off on a piece of paper, and then they're back to working as they should do. Now then, the trick, or the skill perhaps, is going to be to blend this. So there's a, relatively speaking, a gradual shift from the real dark through to the light, but still keep what looks like lots of fur in the main. I'm just trying with this pen just to keep it just in contact with the surface, so that there's basically minimal surface area contact. If I let it press quite firmly down on the wood, I'll get quite a thick line, which is basically the width of the tool. But if I keep it only just in contact, it's like because it's kind of all rounded out, if I keep it just in contact, I'm just going to get the very tip of the contact, and so I'll get quite a thin line. If I pressed it quite hard, it would sort of push into the wood slightly, and then get a wider mark. Nachmui, good evening. Oh dear, I wish that was true. I really do, Nachmui, but thank you very much anyway for the compliment. Indeed. Well, it's kind of yeah, a lot of detail in that. I'm drawing individual hairs almost, but there are times when I wish I could do more. There, just there. Okay. That's it. Oh, easily. But to be honest, what I think it's worth and what somebody will pay is another matter. Nakamui, I do play some, yes. Not a great deal. There's not a lot of time, to be honest. But Nimimba, or Meminba. Good evening, welcome. So you've done some pyrography as well. How did you like it? And what did you do? So in terms of video games, I tend to play simulations more than anything, Nakamui. don't really play much else. So it tends to simulation-like games, things like Minecraft, Farming Simulator, Train Simulator, Factorio, those sorts of games. There's another one that I can't think of. Or very occasionally it'll be something like Resident Evil or a series or the Doom series, something like that. But not very often do I play that sort of well, any sort of game really. By the time I finish work, come home, have something to eat, it's not far off time to stream, and then there's not a lot of time after finish streaming, so I'm going to darken this area a little bit. It's dark areas tend to look to be further away, lighter areas tend to stand out front, so it makes the shape look wrong. So I need to just adjust this around here, darken it slightly. Now when it comes to darkening or lightening, if you're using a different technique, say doing stuff that's not pyrography, one of the things when you're trying to make an area look darker, you don't have to darken the whole area. You only need to make substantially. It's like an average. So if I just put a few dark lines in, it will tend to make the whole area look darker, rather than having to sort of apply a smooth colour over all of the area. So with this, this is being fully lots and lots of hairs, to make something look darker I just need to make a few of them every so often look darker than the rest, and that will average out. As you're looking at it, it'll average out into the whole area looking slightly darker, which allows me to maintain quite a lot of detail or texture of the hair without sort of just applying a whole colour wash over it, which would lose a lot of that texture and look of fur. Oh, excuse me. I've got a little light sort of band just down there, so if I just go and put just a couple of lines, that band just disappears. around here. So you do often have to sort of step back, so to speak, to look at a picture in its entirety rather than just sort of concentrating on a small area, which is actually quite useful in that I can use the camera to give me that perspective, which is why you keep seeing me looking up at it. But I can then judge it as sort of as an overall picture rather than being concentrating on the details. So these extra 1 or 2 lines, when I'm looking at it in close-up detail, I don't see a lot of difference. When I look up, I see a big difference. Yeah, that pen needs its connector adjusting. It's something I've mentioned before, but these particular pens, the only thing I don't like about them is this particular connector that's on the top. I like the fact that there is a connector, I just don't like this particular connector. They're not really intended for power, and in this particular usage, if it doesn't quite make a really strong contact, then the connector itself gets hot. It's not hot enough, too hot to touch, for example, but it is. It's like putting your hands around a freshly made cup of coffee or hot drink. It's sort of, you can hold it, but you probably wouldn't want to keep holding it for a long time, and it's that's just because of the slightly poor connection that's there. So I need to adjust it just to make that contact tighter, and then it won't get as hot. Sometimes you can get quite unintentional lines created just purely by accident because you start in the same place each time. Now most of the ones that you're seeing across here are actually due to the actual wood itself. They're the grain of the wood, or what would be the rings. If you were to look at cut through a tree. So they're the rings. The rings are, there's a hard piece and a soft piece. If you like, the rings are the hard piece and the area between the rings is the soft piece. The hard pieces don't take colour quite as well as the soft pieces, mainly because there's less liquid inherent in the hard piece. And they will show up like this. So you can see them that are there. You can make them vanish. I'm not trying particularly hard to do so at the moment. You can make them vanish just by being a little bit more careful in applying pyrography over them. Basically, you've got to slow down when you run the pen over that particular area, which will then allow it to heat a little bit more, and then they start to vanish. But generally speaking, it'll be something I'll do at the end. If there's any that are particularly noticeable, I'll come back over and just do what I'm doing here, which is applying a little bit of extra pyrography, which then basically just makes it vanish. Claire, good evening and welcome. And Aldel H, also good evening, sir. That's alright, Claire. I noticed you've been streaming quite a bit recently. I haven't had much chance to watch you, but because it's been during my working day, but I have noticed. But it's not. Whilst I might love to make it mandatory for people to watch, I can't. Doesn't. It's not a problem. It's nice to see you when you get the opportunity. Big Teta yet? Good evening and welcome. Interesting name. Okay. I probably caught you. Well, I possibly caught you on both Friday and because Friday was working, and I might just have noticed you on Sunday whilst I was doing something else. Just had a quick flick through and seen you were streaming. Well, you didn't ban me, so I must have been one. I must have been that third viewer. No, you probably had a lot more. Twitch isn't very quick at updating the numbers, but if you enjoyed it, you had fun. Don't worry about it. And as to, don't worry about them. Just ban them. There's absolutely no reason why people should say anything like that. So, get rid of them. You're there to have fun, and if they're bothering that, then they're not worth having around. No, I saw you on stream. I saw you were playing Minecraft, but unfortunately, as I say, I didn't have much opportunity to do anything else. In this case, it's on a metal arm. Let's see if this might not be a good idea, but we'll see. Big Tatcha yet. Big Tata yet. Thank you very much for following. That's kind of you. If I just tilt it, you can see this is what's called a snake. It's something that I've just put together, but you can get them. They're generally speaking like a microphone stand. So it's just a metal snake. In this particular case, it's being held down on a piece of wood with that G clamp that's there. So it's having to move this camera in an odd sort of position. So it's just screwed to a piece of wood, and then it's got this what they call a ball joint on the end. To which the camera is screwed in. Now then, it's going to take me a little bit just to put this camera back where it's supposed to be, which is just there. You can do something. You can get microphone stands as well that have that come up with an arm, so they're not necessarily snakes like that, but they're a fixed arm, and that will do the same thing. Or probably a little bit more expensive, but you know the angle poise lamps. You can get those, but with just basically a fitting on the end, into which things like cameras or microphones will plug, and then you just plug a camera into it instead. So generally speaking, look for microphone stands. The only problem is microphones. Generally, I think they use they use a wider screw fitting than the cameras do. I forgot what it is. I'll make this up because I can't remember. Let's say a microphone uses 3/8 and a camera uses 1/8. I really can't remember which they are. But you can get adapters between the two. So if you get a microphone stand that will, which will position a microphone like this looking down, then you just screw the adapter on and plug the camera in its place. Fortunately, they're not cheap. And mind you, microphone stands might not be too bad. I don't really have room for a microphone stand, which is why I've got the snake. Plus it does, I must admit, it does tend to keep it a little bit more out of the way. And of course, if I need to, I could do with a stand, is I can just pull that down and point the camera at me if I want to do that, or point it somewhere else. Well, so when you find something on eBay, have a look around elsewhere, because these days eBay isn't necessarily the cheapest place unless you're buying something second hand. In this particular case, the snake itself, the base, came from Maplins. I think the adapter that's on the end, though, came... No, that came from Maplins as well. So it's just the ball joint that I got off of Amazon, I think. So if you go a little quiet... It's me that's going a little quiet. Don't worry about it. I'm tending not to want to talk a great deal at the moment. I'm getting over a cold. If I talk too much, I'll start coughing. Just trying to decide where I want to do a bit more work on. I still need to do a bit more around here. It's not quite dark enough, but that's about as light as I want it. So I need to really just darken this a little bit. Okay. That's better. More of a subtle, just a subtle bit of shade, shadow there, I guess. Hmm. I don't know. Let's have a look and see when I can find my mouse. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It, it does, Claire. The only thing that I'm looking at and I'm not sure about is the actual at the end. Where, if you look on the picture, where the microphone's in a clamp itself, and that clamp is like a little black fitting on the end of a little silver stub. And what I don't know is how that's fit. Whether that's like a screw or whether it's clamped. It kind of looks like it's been clamped in there. And if it has, then there's no easy way to replace that with a fitting that a camera would screw onto. That's all. That's what I'm looking at that and going, I'm not sure. It's not fantastically clear. I'm sort of looking at it as though the microphone clamp itself screws on to the sort of a it screws on to sort of a compression joint, and in which case the some of the adapters will screw on in the same way. But that's the only thing I can't tell from the pictures, Claire. Yeah, yeah, indeed. That and some epoxy resin would perhaps do it as well. Because you kind of, something like the ball joint that I've got on mine there, you just kind of need to fasten that on somehow. But you've got a fair amount of flexibility on there. But yeah, no, that looks. Other than that, the concern, that looks not bad. It's also not a bad price. It's an extremely interesting price. I may well take I'll minimise that. I may well take a little bit look at that later, because I'd like to get my own microphone off the desk, and that might be a suitable way of doing it. Exilian, good evening and welcome. Thank you very much. Sorry I didn't see you. Well, I kind of did see you, but I didn't mean to ignore you earlier. I've just look at that image that Clarybug there had posted to do with microphone stands. Yes, he's just down to getting the shading right now. It's a case of so close and yet so far. We are relatively speaking close to finishing this, but that could be that could take a little while to do, just so that we, all this shading has to be correct and matched, and that could take a little while to do. As you mentioned, I think I won't say bodge, but let's say you could. I'm sure you probably could adapt it if necessary. As you mentioned. I mean, the microphone clamps is usually about an inch across diameter. In fact, I'm just looking at mine, which is about that wide. I don't know what camber you've got. Depends on the camber, of course. I'm using a C920 here, and the width of the base of the C920 is about the same width as my microphone, which is what looks like that stand had on it. So it's quite possible that in my case the base of the camber would actually push into that microphone clamp and hold it. It might not be fantastically stable, but as you say, a couple of cable ties, and you wouldn't need to adapt it at all. Okay. Well, there are some cameras that. Can I dig this out? This is actually a night vision camera, but you can actually get some cameras that are like that. This is about the same width. In fact, it's exactly the same width as my microphone. So that, for example, would clamp directly into into that stand. I can't use this as a webcam though. It's not a very good resolution. It's a night vision camera, but otherwise I'm just thinking that would be ideal. Okay. Well, I wouldn't particularly have noticed. I don't take I don't don't take a fantastic amount of notice, to be honest. I mean, there's usually I'm watching what's going on the screen rather than the person doing it, to be honest. Was there any postage on that? Or was that the price? Nope, that's postage free. Wow, that isn't a bad price then. There are times when I look at things like that and the price of that for what it is, and you get a standard. You get those angle poise lamps, so there'd be a lamp on the end of that, just a lamp holder really, with a bulb on the end and a bit of wire, and you'll see them for sort of £90 to £100 at least. And yet, when you see the price of that, which is just missing the bulb on the end, and you think, but they give you a microphone stand itself, which is generally speaking they're about £10 to buy. It's kind of like, how are they doing this? Where they're making a profit? Because the postage on it won't be that cheap either. Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'd like the blue one or the red one. I do like the colour of that blue though. I would bet you, Claire, that it will cost you more to post it on than it cost you to buy it. Literally, I think the minimum, just about the minimum postage for anything in the UK is about £2.80, parcel wise, because it won't go through a letterbox. So, and that's bigger and heavier than sort of the minimum, which is about 400 grams. So, I think you'd probably be lucky about £20 postage. If it doesn't work out for a camera, you could either eventually strap a microphone to it, or just strap a light to it and use it as a light. Just strap a torch to it. In actual fact, you could probably get some of these rechargeable torches that would fit in a microphone stand, so you could always use it as a spotlight for something. Yeah, well, mm, that's kind of what surprised me when he sort of said English stock and deliver in 1 to 2 days. So because it is literally a sort of thing where you'd expect it to be coming from China. But it does now say that there's two sold in the last hour, so it's registered your sale. Um, yeah, it's possibly Claire. Actually, I was thinking you game too.
You want me to buy you one?
Yeah. Well, can you get a red and the blue one?
What's the number?
Let me just. I'll just send it to you. Just excuse me a minute, guys. I am just going to forward this to Lady Zara, who is actually going to buy me one. Two, actually. I want to go. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, it was the it was the price. Yeah, I can understand it in English with Chinese with English distribution, but unless somehow they sort of have got because the China. Oh, I tell you what it'll be. I shall tell when she comes back. What somebody mentioned. I don't know if it was on my stream or somebody's. Probably 3Ds. I think the other night is the Chinese government subsidised postage costs for for Chinese people. Chinese companies. And maybe that's what they're doing in the UK. They're subsidising UK postage because that thing, they must cost. I know they fold up and what have you, but they must cost at least a fiver to ship. But no, she couldn't afford the postage. But yeah, so I'm going to see what a red and a blue one look like because this snake has some limitations, shall we say? Not least of which is it's clamped to that place. But I could do it again, the microphone out of the way as well, and being able to position the microphone up here, just out of the top of the shot, for example, would potentially be quite a bit better as well because it just clutters up the desk otherwise. Good evening, Browncoat Captain. And when you said that, my immediate thought was you're in the wrong stream because you said hi there, and as in the name that came to me was a YouTuber called Dirtebbers. I think that's right. Who I watch quite frequently, and I suddenly thought you're in the wrong stream. But good evening to you there, Browncoat Captain. I keep watching you do your pyrography from time to time. Clarybug or Claire says, "Hi, Lady Zara. Zara, we love you." She says thank you, but she's got a cold at the moment. She says she's not feeling very well. You may have to buy them one at a time to get one of each colour, one of the red and blue. Ah, I've just seen the one of the other pictures has got a picture of the screw thread on the bottom of that bit where the microphone stand is. So it's got a screw thread on it. So almost certainly it's a standard microphone one. So it should be possible for that to get to get an adapter of some kind anyway. I'm ducking under to read underneath the light which I moved, which is right in front of the chat at the moment. Claire is going to send you soup and hot water bottles. Unfortunately, both would probably be cold by the time they got here, Claire, but that's very kind of you. And Aldel H also says, get better soon. You're trying to push the boundaries of pyrography. I'm trying to remember what I saw you doing, Browncoat Captain. Which boundaries are you trying to push? No, I'm struggling now. I know you were doing a Twitch thing a little while ago. I don't know whether you finished that. And what were you doing the other night? Okay, I just drop in for a while as I'm sort of skittering around, because of course we don't quite stream at similar, compatible times, shall we say? Oh, definitely, Claire. Definitely. Well, she appreciates the thought. Thank you very much. I'm pushing my boundaries of pyrography with this at the moment. You're working on the commission, okay? Yeah, I've sort of been playing around as well. Where's it gone? One thing I haven't done a lot of is actually just playing black and white. So I've been playing around as well. I've tended not to do black and white, pure black and white stuff. I've always tended to do sort of photorealistic style work, and the techniques for doing that are challenging. So that was something I played about with, and just some straight text. Where's my... Oh, no. I don't know. I've been tidying up, so I did try some straight text, which is something I don't normally do as well. But I've been, yeah, doing lots of hair like this was an interesting challenge. It's not how I normally do hair. The face is, but I've never done long hair before, so I've been playing about with 3 or 4 different techniques on here, trying to get that sort of well, lion mane look, if you like, really long sort of flowing fur and hair, sort of long-haired cats. And not quite sure whether it's working or not, but it doesn't look too bad on stream. And you've had a logo designed professionally, Claire. That's interesting. I keep thinking I'll have to do something like that, because I could do with some business cards. But yep, that would be interesting. £5.69. Yeah, please. You're sick this week. Oh, sorry, it wasn't meant. Sorry, Claire, it wasn't meant as a reminder. It was meant just as an example of something that I tried. Oh, you are very intelligent there. You've remembered to get all the rights. That's good. And that's actually not bad. You've managed to get someone to do it for that. That is something people often forget, to make sure they get all the rights. And then they find that they can't do what they want it to do. That's quite nice. Okay, I was going to say it looks like an extremely intelligent cat. Which is leaning out of a window. Well, that looks really good. If you want to post some links to some of your work, Claire, you're quite welcome to do so, because I don't think Browncoat Captain has seen some of the stuff that you actually do. and for anybody else who wants to see as well. I mean, Claire there is almost a professional. What was it exactly called, Pip? I can't actually remember what what it's actually called, Claire. What you actually do now? It's gone completely out of my mind. You know, sieves and me. Sieves hold more than my memory does sometimes. But she does some absolutely fantastic, intricate work, guys. And she's going to put some links. But take a look. The work is absolutely fantastic. And with a bit of luck, it sounds like she's going to be streaming some of that soon. Because she's taking it up professionally. Paper. Yeah, the crafter sounds... I was thinking of paper crafting as something else. It was in my brain, but it wasn't. But yeah, or paper cutter. That sort of doesn't really give you the full feeling. But for some of the intricate work that she's done, it's absolutely fantastic. I've tried cutting paper before for various reasons, not for doing what Claire does there, but. With a scalpel, cutting paper is challenging. To get some of the stuff that Claire gets out of cutting paper, I have no idea how she manages it. So do I owe Lady Zara about £12 now?
I don't know. She changed this.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Thank you very much. Actually, I was just looking at Lady Zara over the top of my glasses because I only need the glasses for short distance work. And doing that and seeing Clary Bug's logo there just reminded me of one of our pussycats that we used to have. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But he always looked such an intelligent pussycat because there was something about his face that always made him look like he was wearing glasses, and he sort of looked at you over the top of them. And I don't know what it was, but it's just a weird thing that the poor pussycat looked like he was wearing glasses. He looked really intelligent. I don't know why glasses make a cat look like he's intelligent, but he did. Cats are intelligent whether they wear glasses or not, of course. Well, that fox is tiny. I mean, the happy is as well, but just comparing it with the scalpel blade. So there you go, guys. Check out those 3 pictures. That's just three. They're absolutely amazing things, and I, of course, highly recommend that you follow Clarybug there, and hopefully either very late this year or early next year, you'll actually see us streaming doing some of that. It will absolutely be amazing. I don't think I'd dare leave it around not framed, Claire. It'd get. Well, we've got cats around here, so it'd either get sat on or one of the cats would crunch it up or something. Yeah. It'd just be my luck. I'd pick the notepad up by the wrong end and it'd drop out. 3 cats, 9 rats and 3 snakes. That's quite a menagerie there. Yep, and as Brown Coat Captain says there, he does pyrography. It's I was going to say that's probably an understatement as well. He's got some really nice pyrography pieces that he's done on stream. I suspect you're a little bit faster than I am as well, Brown Coat Captain, but check out Brown Coat Captain's streams as well when he goes live. If you enjoy watching pyrography, there's certainly another streamer there that is quite fascinating to watch. So 2 cats, 25 rats and 17 snakes then? Or is it 2 cats, 24 rats and 18 snakes? Well, I had to say it. Excuse me. So unfortunately, whilst I love detailed work, this is unfortunately it's not tedious from my point of view, but I guess it's not necessarily the most fascinating thing to watch. Is me just doing lots and lots of tiny hairs, but it is kind of the important part. Not so much the hairs, but getting all the shading right. And since I've chosen to use a technique which is essentially drawing, I won't say every hair, but it's like tiny clumps of hair, it does mean I just have to do that a lot of times, and it will take time to do, but at least it does still. What happens then is it still looks like hair when you're seeing it here, as opposed to just flat areas of colour. Well, like the nose, for example, which is just a flat area of colour. Here, at least, if you look, you can see what looks like actual hair. Now, down here, it's a lot smoother, so it doesn't quite look as hairy textured as you come down here. But that's part of the piece. Oh, hang on a second. Okay, Aldelich, have a good evening. There you go, Brown Coat Captain, if you want to try that again. Sorry, Claire has permission to post links at any time. He does fool the occasional person.
I'm not happy with the size.
Really? Why is
With
that?
that particular size. I've ordered 2 blue, so I've told them blue and red.
Okay.
Not happy with it. eBay's changed its format.
So this is just one.
That's just my... No, I've done the first one. That's the message I've put with the second
Okay.
one. Which
Oh,
should
right.
have been red, but she came up as blue when I'd already bought it.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much for trying. If it doesn't, then
Well,
we're stuck. But that's all right.
no.
That's all right. But thank you for trying. That's great. So, ladies, Sarah has just had a problem ordering a couple of those stands. Because you have to pick the colour, you pick one. You have to place 2 orders, and she did that very kindly for me. And the second one, which should have been a different colour, said it had ordered the same as the first one. So she's been very kindly trying to make sure that they send out 2 different colours. So not very happy with a site that messes up orders like that. So neither am I to say. Ah yes, I recall. Have you only just done that logo just recently, Brown Coat Captain? I either saw you doing it just recently or showing that you'd done it, if you know what I mean, showing it on stream. Because I kind of like, well, obviously I like the play on words, but the I like that strap line, where fire meets art. Yeah, well, she actually did it as 2 separate orders, Claire, and she ordered a blue one, then ordered a red one, which when it had complete, it said it blew. So don't actually know what's gone out to the other end, or whether it's just eBay playing a silly game. But thanks. If they turn out to be the same colour, it's not a problem. And it really isn't, Ladies Hour. If they both come as the same.
If you don't want to.
Nah, I prefer to have one of each, but if they turn up, then they turn up. And thanks, by the way, Claire, for well, I know the intent was to find out whether I thought it was good enough, but thanks for letting me know about them. Yeah, she is doing that, Claire. Ooh, that's not very good, Claire. Hopefully eBay or PayPal sort that out. Hopefully this isn't the same.
What's happened to
Now, our parents keep ordering cut crystal figures from eBay and they keep getting scammed. So it's a terrible one to both to say and spell exactly. Swarovski crystal, SVORS. No, I've forgotten now. I use Swarovski crystals in one of the jewellery items. Yep, there we go. So I did have to check I spelt it right. There we go. These are Swarovski crystals. It's W's and V's and things like that. So I'm glad they got the money back. That's great. But yeah, you almost wonder why the company picked a name that's so hard both to say and to spell. But I'm guessing, of course, it's not English. So in their own language, it's probably really easy to spell and say. Yep, that's the idea. Lovely, sparkly. This was the name of this is Special Lady. It was made for a special lady, for Lady Zara. And if there's anybody that watching that would like one of these, it is available in the shop. Not this one. This one is for a special lady. It belongs to her, but Swarovski crystal with sterling silver clasp. Don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, Claire. Well, no, I'll rephrase that. If you can get someone to buy one from the shop in enough time before Christmas, then definitely I'd send you one. Unfortunately, I can't do that without the transfer of money first. Austria. Yeah, it could be. My memory isn't. My memory is so bad. I don't even remember if I knew that to remember it or not. Red and black. Is black available? Red is certainly available. I'm just trying to think though. That could need to be with gold coloured rings rather than silver coloured rings. But But yeah. I'm trying to think. Black. But certainly, that time we can talk about it. I literally can't remember what colour crystals are available. So things like the really rich reds are in a gold setting rather than a silver setting. I've got a feeling that the red in the silver setting is pale, is like a pale red. And I think black is available in gold setting, but we can have a talk about it at the time. I think there's about 6 different colours available, and play mix and match with them and with the colours as well. And Moobot, of course, there just nicely drops in the shop, which is quite convenient. Sometimes that robot is almost intelligent. Well, I hope they achieve what you're after, Claire. I'm looking at this and I probably would have been better with that. The reference that I nicked this idea from, it's a hard shadow, and it really is just the way that the it's almost like sideboards or the a beard would be on a fella with the cats. They've got a fluff which sort of comes down from their ear and down the front of the mane. It sort of fluffs out, and then it's a bit like a collar or ruff, and the shadow behind it when you get the light from the front of them, and then you get the rest of the sort of mane sort of coming out over the shoulders. But I'm beginning to think I probably should have not done that, or I'm going to have to sort of really darken it down a little bit just around it, because it's kind of a bit too bold. Well, that makes sense. That's harder to see unless you understand it. So I'm going to have to do some work in this sort of area around here, probably to take it quite a lot darker, so that it becomes a little bit more obvious what that is. I shall avoid all the obvious jokes that comment is intended to engender. And there's a big word for 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, that doesn't work. That's what's not working very well here is sort of trying to give an impression of clumps of, not clumps, groups, large grouping, or I'll say clumps, but I don't mean clumps of hair because that tends to give the impression of being stuck together. But sort of like large bunches of hair with lots of shadow in it. I was intended to try and do that, but that doesn't really work. It just sort of looks like I've miscoloured it. So I think what I'll probably do is forget about that and just do some nice smooth shading. Which is why I'm also thinking that doesn't fantastically work, but there's nothing I can do about that now. As such, I can't take that away, but what I can do is do some work around it. I think I might end up doing something like that. Sorry, certain things, certain things like that I keep thinking about, I keep coming back to, and like this area here, I'll keep coming back to it and thinking, is it working, is it not working? Quite often I will dot around a picture and I'll see things that, you know, don't work to start with, and I'll go do something else and I'll come back and do a bit more work on it. And sometimes it then works and sometimes it doesn't, and so I'll keep looking at that. I'll probably look at it again and again before I finish this and do something about it. It'll either vanish altogether or something else I haven't thought about yet will happen to it. One of my favourite ones where is to take half a cauliflower, half a broccoli head, onions, carrots, bit of cabbage, trying to think what else now, tomatoes, yeah, fish sticks, but they've got a bit, they're a fair number of calories, but they add a nice flavour to it. Mushrooms. Lady Zara's helping me out with my memory here. But basically just a lot of things like that. The broccoli and the cauliflower break up. This is raw, by the way. And then everything else is chopped up into sort of fairly smallish sort of pieces, thrown all into a big bowl, and then just a little bit of olive oil, vinegar, and mint as a dressing. Now I know the olive oil has got quite a bit of calories in it, but you get one dirty great big plateful for not a lot of calories, and that's yeah, and generally Lady Zara and I will eat a bowlful between us, but you limit, the calories on that are either down to the mostly down to either the fish sticks if we get them in there, or the olive oil. It is. It is if you like crunchy stuff and you don't mind raw vegetables, but it's just the mix of tastes and the colours, because you can imagine all the colours that are in there as well. And we do quite literally, we'll take a dinner plate and it will be piled to the point where you can't put any more on it because it falls off the edge. I don't actually know how many calories are in that. You'd probably surprise me now by saying, hey, that's about 6,000 or something, but yeah. So do I. And that's just a really nice way of, because we don't use any of the fancy dressings. It's just pure olive oil and vinegar. Generally white wine, white. It's a really hard word to say. Is it white wine vinegar? And I'm trying to remember how much I do. It's a third to 2/3, and I can't remember which way around. I think it's 2/3 vinegar, 1/3 olive oil, and some mint that's has been soaked in vinegar for a little while. Either fresh mint, or if you use dried mint, soaked in the vinegar for a little while. And of course, given a good shake, it mixes up, and you get a really nice dressing. And of course, the less olive oil you use, the less calories, I guess. $2.50. I have no idea whether that's a lot or a little, Clavybug. It does sound. What's average for a woman is about 2,000 calories a day, isn't it? So 1,400 sounds rather a bit stingy. Chili oil to everything. Oh well. Yeah. Tell you what I like, and it's got nothing to do with that, but just sort of raw vegetables wise, is it's only one particular kind I like, but they are chili peppers in vinegar, I guess they are. I'm trying to think of the make now, but I kind of just eat those straight out the bottle. I have to restrict myself to sort of only having 3 a day, otherwise I go through the whole glass jar in one go. But okay, well, at least you've got a reasonable target, which is fantastic. You're not going silly. Well, sort of. Remember, it's a target. It's not a requirement as such, and don't worry about it if it's not quite like that. And you, as I understand, will be okay. But you know more about it than I do. Anyway, talking about whatever it was I was talking about, and I don't quite know how it connected in my mind. I'm going to have to work on that pen. I'm going to do it now, because what I'm going to say actually is we're 10 past 10. It's time I stop for this evening. Yeah, but be careful, because if you start getting obsessed about it, it becomes harder and harder, Claire. Whatever it is, that seems to be, I don't know, the perceived wisdom, shall we say, because I don't actually know. But quite often, if you focus too hard on something, it becomes really hard to do. Yes, Lady Zara said, sometimes you can get depressed over the fact that it's not happening, and then it sort of acts the other way. You know, so take care with it, but you know, don't worry overly about it, and that way you're more likely to succeed. It has rather gone quickly. It does happen like that sometimes. I'm going to say thank you to everybody that is watching. I'm also going to point out, in case there's anybody watching that hasn't or doesn't realise, that the jewellery, like the special lady I showed earlier, is available on that link that's on screen, and that Moobot has really kindly just dropped into chat. And check it out. I, of course, would say everything on there is absolutely fantastic, but it's my shop, so, you know, if there's anything that interests you, of course, you're quite welcome to purchase it. But if you're thinking about buying them for Christmas presents or things like that, do encourage you to order earlier rather than later, just because they take a little while to make. And you don't want to be disappointed, and I don't want to disappoint you either. Apart from that, if you are watching and not following, then I would also encourage you to do that. But you don't have to if you don't want, that's okay. If you don't want to follow me, but you might still want to follow me on Twitter, because that way you'll get notifications when I go live. I don't tweet a lot else apart from that, so you are safe from being flooded, that's for sure. On the other hand, if you'd just like to try and catch my next stream, it should be tomorrow, 8 PM UK time, 2000 hours UTC GMT, all three are the same at the moment. Or about 2 hours, 10 minutes ago, it was 8 PM here in the UK. Thank you all, and I'll pass that on, Claire. And thank you all for watching. Hope to see you in the studio again in the future. And I'm going to say, everybody, have a great evening, and bye for now.